If you want Colts talk all year long, you're in the right place.
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown. He's going to fire upfield. It's broken up. Tipped and intercepted by the Colts.
This is the official Colts Podcast, giving you an updated look at what's new with the Horseshoes.
Colts have it. Interception. 2 seconds left, and the Colts are going to win.
In the Indiana Union Construction Industry radio studio, let's get the podcast started.
Welcome into the official Colts Podcast. I am joined week in and week out. Well, actually, last week it wasn't, but sort of week in and week out.
Yeah, that's right.
We did have a little Christmas travel area.
I don't know what day it is.
JJ Stankevitz is, and by the way, you're right on that. We have no idea what day it is. Larra Overton here. Latte Larra is here. Quick recap of what's going on. Let me just start with you. We saw a lot happen. The must-win scenario against Vegas. We saw the 2017. The fans came out. They were loud at the right time. You were on the sidelines. JJ, you were the voice of God over the thing. That stadium with that playoff sort of, knowing of what's going on and getting in the lead, playing the way that they should, protect this house type of thing. That was great for what we've seen because, guys, weeks ago, we couldn't win a game at home, and now all of a sudden, nobody wants to come in here.
Well, when you walked in on Sunday morning, you felt like there was a palpable just added focus from all of the guys because we're there when they're all coming in the tunnel, and certainly there's always a good energy about it, but you could tell that it was the magnitude was felt of the implications of that particular game. And they really conducted themselves it just seemed like that there was just a seriousness. They were just so locked in all day long and paid off with, of course, the start you got to that game. But yeah, I mean, all around it was such an incredible environment, and it was really fun on the sidelines to see guys, reacting to some of those explosive catches, explosive plays in the passing game with Josh Downs and Alec Pierce. The return of Michael Pittman Jr., that was just such, I think, an emotional, kind of, punch in the arm to some degree to hear him come back out or hear him announce running back out of the tunnel again. That certainly elevated this offense. Defensively, my gosh, when you don't have Kenny Moore, right? He's announced as he's inactive right before kickoff, and you think the task at hand for guys like Jalen Jones and Juju Brents. Juju Brents had such a phenomenal day, and it's wait, who's going to play the nickel? Chris Lamons, stepping in. So I thought that defensively you got such, great complementary play from all facets of your defense there that was necessary up against the task you had with Vegas. Just, it was so much fun. And then it's a short week, and I actually think that this short week, to me, plays into the favor of this team.
I agree. I totally agree.
To carry off the momentum that you built at home on Sunday afternoon, and it's so recent in your minds, having played that Saturday afternoon game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which worked in your favor, right? So I think that you're able to kind of go back to that playbook of what did we do that week against the Steelers and, quickly jump right into that. I think that that's going to be something that's really beneficial for this team. I like the fact that, of course, you lose that day, which is tough. But for this team, I think you got to, try to keep riding the momentum as much as possible and continue that through going into Saturday night.
Can I get greedy here for a minute?
Yes.
And just really quick, just touch on this. I'm a greedy dude, and so are we, hopefully. Now, we're saying, hey, winning you're in. Does anybody fear that Tennessee can't knock off Jacksonville and this team take a huge
weirder things have happened?
I know, that's what I'm saying. We're talking about this week being weird. What about potentially next week?
So the Colts win Saturday night. Mm-hmm. We are all going to be watching the Jaguars-Titans game.
Right.
For the TV executives, for the love of everything, put that game on here. I'm going to be on 506 Sports, that coverage map site, just being is that game on? Because sometimes you get these weird things.
I subscribed to Red Zone. I just got it
honestly,
last month.
Yeah,
I just did that.
It's pretty good.
I'm going to have to
Well, I'm usually not home to enjoy it on Sunday, but
the easiest TV layup of all time is put that game on in Indianapolis. Anyways, off my
Is that
soapbox
Sunday
on
1 o'clock?
Sunday 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Why is
Ryan Tannehill is starting that game for the Titans. Will Levis is hurt. That, to me, gives Tennessee a better chance to win.
Really?
Ryan Tannehill going out, this is probably his last game in Tennessee, with Mike Vrabel, who is going to come in with just a pain-in-the-butt plan for that Jaguars offense. That kind of had a little get-right game against Carolina. C.J. Beathard, Trevor Lawrence is probably healthier. No one's counting out the Titans,
right?
And we shouldn't. We're getting ahead of ourselves because for that game to even matter here in Indianapolis, the Colts got to win. But if you're going to get greedy, we're looking at if the Titans beat the Jaguars after the Colts beat the Texans, we are back at Lucas Oil Stadium for a third straight week hosting the Cleveland Browns.
How about that?
In the wild card round of the playoffs.
Oh my gosh.
Couldn't even think about that. But literally, that's the craziness of 1 week. That's what we're looking at. Talk about the buzz going around the
Hold
NFL.
on,
Who wants to play the Colts and Gardner Minshew?
Well, I mean, in the season of what has been the backup quarterback, you just mentioned C.J. Beathard and Ryan Tannehill, and that crazy situation, all across our division alone. Joe Flacco in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
How wild of a storyline is that? I think Cleveland's had 4 different quarterbacks this season, right?
The fact that Joe Flacco might dethrone DeMar Hamlin for comeback player of the year.
Right.
That's no one could have even thought it would be possible for someone to do that, because DeMar Hamlin literally died on a football field and came back and played football. But what Joe Flacco's doing is kind of merits some consideration over that.
The franchise sort of died, and he kind of gave him the little CPR
Oh
back
my
in.
goodness,
I mean, yeah, it is
wild.
an incredible story. It is. But, JJ, real quick, Larra mentioned it briefly on this. Why is this in our favor, the short week type of thing, as far as being in week 18 of an NFL season, knowing how the nicks and bumps and bruises and everything take an extra day or two for these veterans to get healthy?
I think it is just more like everyone's locked in. You don't have the off day. Yes, that's good for rest and recovery, certainly. But I think everyone just, Shane Steichen said it in his post-game victory speech that we posted on our social channels and Colts.com. This has to be the best week of preparation of your life. And now there's no break. It's like you're back in here on Monday. Tuesday, we're having a walkthrough. Wednesday, Thursday, practice. Friday, kind of our last little preparations, our last little light walkthrough, whatever it may be. And then Saturday, we go. And there's no break in there, and I think that's almost good. I think you get right into it. You don't have any downtime, and it is just all about how do we beat the Houston Texans.
And the good thing about it is Jonathan Taylor back in the mix, obviously, after missing some time.
Yeah, that was huge. For him to get near 100 yards rushing, I thought was such a significant game for him, just a significant effort. And the way that this offensive line set you up in that game as well, not just for Jonathan Taylor, but, man, you saw that 27-yarder by Trey Sermon as well. I thought offensive line play was top tier, and you really did see some of those, flashes of, JT at full speed, full strength, full health. So that's really encouraging because, this is the point where you need your playmakers. You need your top-tier effort from Pitt, from JT, from Buck, Grove, Zaire, all of those, every single – Gardner Minshew, of course, as well. Everybody is going to have to play their best ball of the season on Saturday night, and I thought that there were great indications of that in a lot of complimentary pieces.
Well, I'm not alone here, and I'm not saying for you two, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I am looking into this camera and this microphone and telling you I did not have this Indianapolis Colts football team making the playoffs this year. Even with the 4th overall pick, Anthony Richardson, I know it's a tall order for rookies to come in and do well, not that they haven't in the past. But, hey, I'm not eating crow here. I'm saying, boy, how exciting it is, because I don't think I'm alone, Colts fans out there. I know anything can happen on any given Sunday. But to get to a double-digit win season right now, you talk about storylines in this NFL, that's where we're at. One afternoon is going to shape potentially the legacy of this franchise even more so because, hey, a chip in a chair, meaning if you've got one chip left that you can still gamble with, meaning you're still alive, anything can happen in the NFL playoffs. Oh. And that's what we're at. And we've been missing this. We've been missing this around here for so long. And where's our quarterback? Where's our quarterback? Andrew, where's our quarterback? Gardner Minshew. Thank you. Come on in. Hey, I was in the flower bed in the backyard. My phone rang, and they said, you want to play some quarterback? And yeah, I'll go there and go ahead and do it. That's what we're looking at right now. That's why I love this storyline of this Colts team.
But even if the Saturday doesn't go the way that we want, the Colts don't win, this team is set up so well in 2024 for success with the pieces that are in place and the potential to add more, whether it's through free agency, trades, the NFL draft, because you've got the head coach figured out, and coming back next year, you got a quarterback who, remember what Chris Ballard told us on that podcast during the bye week, that we think we know enough about him to know how to build around him. Right now, that all doesn't matter, but I'm just saying, going forward, I'm going to be insufferable talking to people about the Colts in June. Guys, this team, they're going to be really good. Just at parties, at family events.
What kind of parties?
People who aren't Colts fans.
What do you mean parties? Your dad with a couple of kids?
Birthday parties, man.
Oh,
Kids' birthday parties.
Okay. I thought you meant all-nighters, stuff like
too,
that.
I can't even look that far ahead because I get so attached especially this year, and have with all of it, this locker room, this roster has gone through, where I think at the end of the season, no matter how far you go, that locker room looks different. There are going to be guys who are important pieces of this team, who have been important pieces of putting this team in this position right now, who aren't going to be here. So for me, I'm like trying to not look too far ahead and not think about, like, of course the future is really bright, but my gosh, the guys who are here now deserve this so much for all that they have fought through. And you think about guys who are in contract years, obviously, and it's just not feasible to bring everybody back. What's the situation with some of those guys? Inevitably, there are going to be trades and different things like that. So that's one thing for me, that while we are so optimistic and the future is so exciting, man, don't take for granted what this group has done and how special this group is. And the fact that that some of those, unfortunately, will not be Colts when the 2024 season kicks off.
Yeah, you're right. There's going to be new faces here, and old faces we're waving goodbye to. So anyway, the here and now, 8:15, Saturday night. You do a great job on the sidelines.
Thanks.
You do a great job again over it. It's important. I say this week in and week out. You're one of the guys that's stirring that drink a little bit, because we need those 60+ thousand fans behind us, especially in a playoff atmosphere. So good luck. I'm going to take a sidebar here really quick for a second and ask Larra, the medical tent and the sideline reporter. Okay. Jonathan Taylor goes into the blue tent.
Right.
Are you right around there sniffing? I mean, are you waiting outside of the zipper to kind of get the update of it? And do you have any idea what's going on in there as far as over the course of about 2, 3, 4 minutes?
That's all great. That's a great questions all around. I don't know what's happening inside the tent.
Can you hear anything?
No, it's too loud and everything. You really can't. And even still, like, anything that I would hear, I wouldn't be able to report, right? That's all still confidential things. So even if I pick up on something, wouldn't be necessarily reportable information. But what I'll do is, okay, what was the most recent play that happened on the field that player was involved in? What was the demeanor or the exchange when he comes over to the sideline? What are they taking a look at while they're on the sideline? Then they go into the tent, and what happens after. So you're deducing a lot based on those bits of information that they're gathering. But while they're in the tent, no. But there are certain tells where, you have the independent neurological consultant. If he's involved, you can obviously talk about the fact that, okay, he is in there. You can't say, oh, they're evaluating for a concussion, but you do know, okay, he's in there. So that's a component of it. That's a bit of information that you can glean based on just being in proximity to everything that's going on.
All right. Well, it's interesting. People have asked me about that before throughout the season. Like, how close does Larra get, and how much information, and when does she get that? And obviously it's run by the PR department of the Colts, obviously, of what they want to release. Anyway, that's just a little selfish sidebar. Thank you for that update right now, but we're talking about important...
Hopefully I don't have many medical tent updates on Saturday night. Hopefully that's few and far between.
We were all holding our breath at that point, by the way, after JT's having a heck of a game, and it's like, no, not the tent. But anyway, an important...
And also, too, I'll explain this as well. It doesn't indicate the severity of an injury if a player goes into the tent. That's never necessarily
just
saying,
gotta go, right?
oh, this is bad, or this is something more serious. It can just be that there is a level of confidentiality or a level of kind of security that you need, especially if they might be trying to, like, maybe you're reinforcing and putting some sort of a brace or, a sleeve or a cuff on something. So we might have to take pads off, different things like that. So it's also something where that doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing for that player, or this injury is more severe than something that they may tend to directly on the sideline.
All right,
sideline reporters do really important work.
Oh,
and Larra
man.
does a fantastic job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Conveying a lot of information that you could get totally lost in. You could just be paying attention to something else and totally miss it, but you don't miss anything.
No, thank you. I mean, at one point, too, like, defense was out on the field, and I was switching positions and saw that Ryan Kelly was getting his ankle looked at on the sideline, and then Ryan didn't come out immediately at halftime. He was able to get treated and attention at halftime and then came in. But, you're watching that because I knew that Ryan's ankle was looked at late in the second quarter, then was looking on the sideline, and Wes French was warming up just in case, but Ryan came back out in plenty of time. Clearly just needed a little bit more time to do the tape job and the reinforcement that they needed. But it's important for personnel standpoint. It's important to relay to Matt and Rick, hey, it looks like, Wesley French is in at center, or different things like that, because they're navigating so many things up there. So anytime that I can help them with bits and pieces of things that are going on, and also too can help as to the severity of, okay, we knew this wasn't something that just popped up. He had the ankle taped prior to halftime. likely correlating to that, and you're able to kind of paint the picture, especially on radio, for those who aren't watching a television broadcast.
Yeah, but speaking of television broadcast, Larra does a great job for preseason on TV. I fill in on the sidelines on radio, and Taylor will throw to me and ask him this year. He's like a couple of times. It looks like a player down. Who is that, Gorman, down there? Not a clue. Can't see.
Sometimes you can't.
Come back to me, Matt. Sorry.
No, sometimes you can't see, though. Like, if the guy's lying down or, and it's tough. Well,
He's done that twice, and he's like, I mean, just in preseason alone, and he's like, do you see who's got the ball? Do you see it? I'm like, Matt, all I'm seeing is like the back of Dio Adangbo right now, and I can't see a thing, man. It's like, but you do a great job. That's what brought us to it. So
I appreciate
anyway,
it. So
you know it, and good heads up there because we have the best in the business with these two. Okay, important season, significant season. Let's try something here, and this is a JJ Stankevitz production, and I love it.
I do like this.
I love it. It's the draft. It's the significance draft. It's not the VIP draft. It's not the most important, but it's the significance draft. I think that's accurate when we're talking about. I'm going to start to my right.
So it's the most significant.
With
coaches or players?
Coaching staff or players. Most significant to a successful season, this one being 2023-2024. And we'll start with Larra on this. Larra, I think JJ and I were talking before we went on. I think I know who's at the top of the list. So go ahead as far as significance goes.
No question about it for me. Shane Steichen.
Shane Steichen right there.
Undisputed number 1 overall pick. The job that he has done as a first-year head coach, enduring everything that he has over the course of this year, it's absolutely incredible because one thing is each and every week these guys are, he's going to have them ready. You're going to get top-tier effort out of these guys. It's been incredible to watch him mold this team since he took over in February, build this team to what they are. So, yeah, it's Shane for me.
When the Colts hired Shane Steichen in February, Chris Ballard said, we didn't just hire him because he was the OC of the best offense in the NFL, in the Eagles. That part is a piece of it, but it was not the most significant part. The most significant part was that he was the right coach for the Colts, the right head coach.
And that was a thorough process.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
Yeah.
What, 14 different guys who interviewed,
lot
weeks
of time
long.
spent vetting these guys. They found the right coach. If Shane Steichen was just a good offensive coordinator who didn't have command of this whole team, the offense could be, probably where they're at. But with everything this team has gone through, with suspensions and injuries and a 3-game losing streak and losing by 3 scores in December on the road to the Bengals and the Falcons and then coming back and beating the Steelers and the Raiders, none of that happens without the head coach having
beating
command
the
of the team.
Ravens earlier this season, too.
That might be one of the best wins of the year.
Yeah.
No question.
Absolutely. I mean, no question. This team is it's not a Jekyll and Hyde team. That's what I love about it. It's like who's going to show up. There's some bad weeks, some good weeks, but you guys are so right. Shane Steichen is a straw that stirs the drink emotionally. I mean, play-wise and everything that goes into it. And what a great one. And I'm just going to roll into significance. I'm going to say Gardner. We don't have to stay here, but I'm staying with Gardner because what we're looking at is a potential double-digit win team in the NFL. With a guy who's not making a great deal of money that calls himself a quarterback in the NFL, it is significant, but he's not a starter. He's not there. He's like, hey, I'll run OTAs while we wait for Anthony Richardson or whoever's going to come in here from the draft and play quarterback, and I'll just do it, and I'll run these OTAs when I don't have a – now I'm there, and people are still coming up to me. I'm the backup. I'm having that significance in the locker room. I'm going to give it to Gardner because it's tough to win one game in this stinking league, and the young man has came in and put this offense on his back the best that he could and found a way. So that's my first one as far as significance
So
goes.
there are some issues when Gardner first took over as the starting quarterback with turnovers. The Colts since week 9 have the fewest turnovers in the NFL, 5. That has been fixed, and that has been a lot of Gardner. Gardner has fixed that. He's not throwing picks. He's been securing the ball in the pocket. Obviously, Shane Steichen, Cam Turner, those guys deserve credit for Jim Bob for getting that all fixed. But Gardner himself deserves some credit. He's really settled in to the role he needs to fill within this offense, and he's done a really good job of it.
And one thing that he does too, even aside from the play, is the confidence that he exudes in the huddle. Like, you think back to that Pittsburgh game when you had Tyler Goodson and Trey Sermon coming in that situation, stepping up, DJ Montgomery stepping in place of Michael Pittman Jr., and Gardner never flinches. He's like, okay, like this is a situation. Because, you know, for a second, for some of those guys, this is a huge role to be thrust into. But Gardner never wavers. And with the confidence and the way that he executes and the way he has command, that, you know, resonates across that offense. And that's why you've seen guys rotate in and out of the lineup. But they've been able to maintain production is because of what he is, that field general that he is.
You know what I found funny real quick is when he went to Montgomery and he had an awful drop.
Yeah.
And it goes back to him. And stuff like
Next
that.
play,
But
right
in
back to
this,
him.
but in this league, I'm saying these quarterbacks, veteran quarterbacks, I'll say, will go, hey, I'm not even looking over there. Okay, you dropped it, get away from me for a couple of plays. I'm not even going to look your way. Went right back to him and showed him. So that was another Gardner. So where are we at now? We've got Shane Steichen, we got Gardner Minshew.
So I did, because I set this up, I did give myself, I was like, okay, I know who the first 2 picks are going to be. I wanted to think about this a little bit. The guy that I settled on is Zaire Franklin.
Yes, that's where that would have been with you.
Because he's not only one of the Colts' best players on defense, 170 tackles, breaking his own record, leading the NFL in tackles, but he's the emotional leader of that side of the ball. He's the one who, if you see it every game, he's the one talking to the team after warm-ups before they go back into the locker room. He is that spirit he has, the intensity that he brings, and the energy that he brings, I think, elevates that entire side of the ball.
No question.
And the message that he can bring as a team captain, as a guy who was a 7th-round pick, who wasn't even supposed to make the team, who worked his way into a special teams captaincy, into being a starter, into setting a record, into breaking his own record. What better example for young guys on this team to follow? And what better guy to keep this train on its tracks in an up-and-down season in that locker room than Zaire Franklin?
No, well said. I mean, he wasn't supposed to be here. Now he's going to be taking the defensive signals in a playoff type of atmosphere. I mean, Zaire Franklin and what this organization wants for what the community sees in their players, that's him, Larra.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everything. He is everything. He's an absolute warrior. He's the leader. I mean, not just emotionally, but, you know, on the field. The position that he helps put other guys in when you have had, you know, EJ Speed step up and play more significant reps, of course, of late. You know, you've also seen Segun Olubi, right? And the role that he has had elevated this year. We've seen Grant Stewart come in of late as well. All of that comes behind the leadership of Zaire Franklin when you have that rotation of guys at the linebacker position and then just across the defense. You know, the trust that defensive front has because you know that next level is Zaire Franklin right behind you.
With the 4th overall pick in the significance draft, Larra Overton selects.
I'm trying to find my note right here. This is terrible, but it's going to be Pitt for me.
Yeah.
It's Michael Pittman Jr. So I don't have the note. I'm just going to go off the top of my head, but just the 4th player in franchise history to have 100 receptions on the season.
Pretty good list.
Dallas Clark, Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison.
Not bad.
Michael Pittman Jr. is only the 4th. And I think that in a year of such growth for this offense, he has been so impactful. And just, it's been fun to watch Pitt from that rookie season evolve and grow as a player, as a leader in that locker room. I mean, just think about, you can seriously isolate one play that tells you everything you need to know about Michael Pittman Jr. And I know I brought up the Ravens game, and I go back to it again. The play in overtime, he makes this unbelievable catch in double, triple coverage, gets his helmet pops up, comes up with the ball, and just keeps going. He's pivotal in that entire win. But that play specifically is that's everything you need to know about Pitt. And he has earned the nickname the Enforcer. Mm-hmm. That's what they call him. What more do you need to know?
Zaire Franklin, after the game Sunday, he had a great quote. He said, quote, "That's the type of player Pittman is, not only making one-on-one plays on the outside, scoring touchdowns, but setting the tone out there for the offense. Being an enforcer out there, there's nobody else in the league that's doing both."
And the physicality that he plays with resonates across that entire team. It's not just the offense, but it's when you see the stuff that Michael Pittman does, okay, then when you're going out in special teams coverage and you got to make tackles or, defensively, I feel like that this defense has had that identity for a long time. And now offensively, you're getting that as well behind guys like Michael Pittman Jr. and, Jonathan Taylor as well. And of course the O-line.
Wide receivers are usually known for enforcers.
Not
being
enforcers,
you're
but
right.
you get the guys who are dirty work guys.
Mm-hmm.
We had Zach Pascal here,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Zach Pascal,
Doolin.
ultimate dirty work guy, right?
Yeah.
Doolin, those guys. Think about Robert Woods, ultimate dirty work guy. but they're not usually 100-catch, 1,000-yard receivers like Michael Pittman is. Usually those guys, it's like if you get, that guy to block on the perimeter once a game, it's like, oh, good, thank God.
Yeah, right.
But with Pittman, it's like Pitt. I was talking to Pitt after the game, and he was just like, I feel like we run the ball toward me a lot, and that's not a coincidence because they trust me to block on the perimeter.
Go to the 27-yard Trey Sermon run.
Block Divine Diablo out of the play.
Yes. I mean, Quentin is leading the charge there and doing an outstanding job, but when you have Pitt doing that work, unbelievable. Also, I want to highlight, too, something just as kind of aside from our conversation of the draft, but just kind of going back to blocking, how significant was Mo Alley Cox in that Raiders win, helping out with Max Crosby? I mean,
how many times did he chip him?
Yeah, you need to.
Max Crosby.
And you have to.
0 sacks. There was one play I noticed against the pass that Max Crosby made an impact. It was when he looped around and rushed up the middle. Other than that, didn't really notice
you
him.
really
They had a good
neutralized
plan
him.
for him.
Yeah,
Braden
and
Smith did a
so
great
anyway,
job on
just
him,
wanted
too.
to, since we were talking about Pitt so significant in the run game, wanted to bring up Mo as well and blocking the pass.
Well, that's my next pick is Mo. No, I'm just kidding. On the
I was like, wait,
significance. Let me do this and discuss. Looking at big picture, and I want to pick out one player, and I'm Nate Ali.
Oh.
Nate Ali. Defensive line coach, setting a
Yes.
record with this unit. I know Buckner's there, and there's some talent there.
Such a great
Brought a
call.
guy like Samson Ebukam in. Quiddy Pay's getting better. Obviously, Dio Adangbo. So I'm giving it to a coach, Nate Ali.
You have 14 guys who have gotten to the quarterback. JJ and I were just talking about this. I was like, hey, how many different guys have we had who have had sacks this? I mean, I know we obviously broke the franchise record, but with how many? 14 different guys. That's unbelievable. That's such a testament to the coaching and to the depth of that group.
The depth is so important, but it's not just that the Colts got guys who've got to the quarterback. It's like I was talking to Nate about this last week, and he's like, we have our Alpha group and our Bravo group, and he's like, you see us. It's like a hockey line change when we put those guys in. It's 4 on, 4 off, and he's like, when we put that Bravo group on to take guys off, we still trust that they're going to get after the quarterback, and that's what we've seen. It's getting a couple sacks out of Jake Martin. It's getting Tyquan Lewis having a tremendous season. It's getting, you throw Taven Bryan in there, he gets a couple sacks. Eric Johnson gets a sack. You can trust those guys to still get after the quarterback. And then that means when you get a big third down late in the game, DeForest Buckner is feeling a little more fresh. Quiddy Pay's feeling a little bit, that little 1% edge where he's feeling a little bit more fresh than the guy across from him. That has a compounding impact over the course of a game.
I mean, I love it. I'm going back to this list, and it's that's a great exercise, Colts fans. Try to, without cheating, name all 14 guys who have
Had a sack?
recorded a sack this season. Yeah. It's a good
If
little
you
exercise.
can do that, try it in the comments without looking.
Right.
We'll keep a look at it on YouTube.
Well, great job to Nate Ali, what he's doing with this group. And I know there's a lot of studs there and stars there as well. But anytime you set a record in the NFL of a franchise that's been around forever and a day, plus had Robert Mathis and Dwight Freeney, potential both Hall of Famers, and, to do what they're doing, hey, tip of the cap to Nate Ali. So that's where we're at. Where are you at?
So I kind of wanted to do I can't pick one guy from the group, so I'm going to pick the position coach. But since you just did that, I'm going to go with Quentin Nelson. I was between Q and Tony Sperano Jr. The work that Tony Sperano has done getting this offensive line collectively playing together has been tremendous and should be absolutely commended. But the seasons Quentin Nelson is having, I mean, you turn on the tape and he is wrecking dudes. But it's not just that he's beating the guy in front of him. What Quentin Nelson has been able to do, and what Shane Steichen has been able to do with Quentin Nelson. Like the play that is seared into my brain is the touchdown to Alec Pierce against the Titans in Week 13, where on that play, they go play action and they pull Quentin Nelson like it's a power. They pull him from left to right, and he blocks a Danico Autry bull rush. Like that, we know Danico's one of the strongest dudes on the edge. And Quentin blocks him, he absorbs it, he gives Gardner time, touchdown to Alec Pierce. But because they tied the play action into a guard pulling, that freezes everyone on the back end for just that split second to let Alec get behind him. You can't do that if you can't trust that guard to go block Danico Autry, who is, by the way, 10, 11 sacks this year?
Right.
You can't do that if you don't trust the guard to do that. Quentin Nelson has unlocked some stuff within this offense because he's playing at an all-pro level once again.
Yeah, this draft isn't going away. I like the way we're doing this.
I do
We're
too.
talking about
I do too.
Shane Steichen being mentioned, obviously the great players. And listen, there's so many more. We'll have a different one next week, and people, as far as making significant, inputs to this season and getting where the Colts are at. I mean,
you could have made a case for Kenny Moore II.
Boom. Let's do it. Let's do it. I mean, just drabble some names and we'll move on. I mean, there are those people out there.
Kenny, Tony Sperano. Those are kind of the other guys on my list.
Right.
Oh,
but, I mean, DeForest Buckner. If you didn't take the singular defensive line coach. Buck, even though maybe the counting stats aren't totally there, the impact he has in that entire group is so significant. You could throw Josh Downs in there.
How about
Dio Dangbo. With the ascension that Dio's had, him coming in there and being kind of like that third guy. There are a lot of different guys you can make a case.
And you know what else I like, Larra? And then we're going to move on. Is I like Will Mallory with a big catch. Here, this kid's going to be great. I mean, this kid's going to be good in the NFL. It's a hybrid type of I'm not a blocking tight end, but I'm more of a wide receiver type. But he's nasty at the same time. I love the big Will Mallory catches not out of nowhere, but at the right time. You know what I'm saying? It's like talk about significance. There's importance, and then there's these individual significance and stuff like that.
Well, the first catch of his NFL career, he makes it at Houston, and it's huge. It was like this
46 yards.
46 yards. That's his first NFL catch.
And that was right after Gardner came in for Anthony.
Yes. That was the game in Houston. So, like, you just think about, like, the composure, the poise, like, the presence, the preparation of a rookie tight end to be like, all right, we're like, this is how we're going to open it up. Like, I love that. And, like, talking to him, too, like, coming from the football family that he has, and this is, like, totally, like, dream come true for him to be here. Obviously, like, grew up majority of his life bouncing around because his dad being in coaching, lived a lot of places, but kind of roots in Florida. Jacksonville, went to high school there, went to University of Miami, but he said that like the Midwest is home because of, his grandfather who coached at IU and uncles who have coached around the Midwest, now his dad as well. And, the fact that he is playing for the team that has Gus Bradley's defensive coordinator when Gus's son was his high school quarterback.
So weird.
How about that, right?
How great is that?
What a tie-in that is.
Yeah,
when I talked to Will Mallory about that.
It's just such a fun story.
He's such a nice guy. He kept talking about how Mrs. Bradley would have them over all the time. And I'm like, Mrs. Bradley.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
He was saying that, he was telling me when we were talking on Colts 360 a few weeks ago that, in particular, when COVID lockdown was going on and they were in Florida and they all kind of live in a similar area, they were over, at the Bradley's house a ton because it was just kind of one of the places where, they could go, we could walk over there, and they were, at home a lot. And so they were playing, doing a lot, just kind of trading reps out in the backyard. And so that was, kind of what further solidified that like friendship as well. They spent so much time together during that period of time. So.
Love it. So many greats, and obviously he's in the tight end room. Speaking of which, our own JJ Stankevitz here had a chance to sit down. Kylen Granson, talk about significance. He's been there, big catches. We saw it this past week as well. Here's Kylen with JJ.
All right, joining me here on the official Colts podcast is Colts tight end number 83, Kylen Granson. Kylen, you said hello already. That's great. We're here on YouTube and also on all of our audio channels. Big week, Kylen. We were just walking over here about it being a short week. Does the short week kind of lead you to be more intensive on like the mental side of things, knowing the stakes of this game on Saturday?
Absolutely. I mean, you lose a day, so that's a day of preparation, a day of rest, a day of breaking down the defense and special teams of your opponent. But overall, I think we'll be just fine. We lost today, but we got it.
How has the message kind of maybe not even changed this week? I was talking to Taekwon in the locker room after the game Sunday, and he talked about how, like, as a leader on the team, you can't really change your message, even if the stakes are much more elevated. Has that been kind of your experience so far this week?
Absolutely. Every week it's 1-0. Every week we prepare. Just the same as we would any other week. While the implications of our wins may be different, the week going in, it's all the same mentally and in the locker room for us.
Does that come from Coach Steichen, just like top down, when you see Shane keeping that same intensity and message and not kind of altering it, that kind of just feeds to the rest of the team?
Yeah, absolutely. It starts with him, but then it's also with our leaders in the locker room, the guys who've been around, who've played playoff ball, who are like, all right, like as we get deeper in the season, the message isn't changing. Mm-hmm. The standard's still here. And even more than that, we still got to continue to build on what we already have. So it's not completely static. It's actually trending upwards.
How would you describe Shane as a coach?
Great guy. Great coach. We're always scheming up something. We've always got something going into each week. He's really charismatic. I mean, he's always talking to players, talking with the QBs, talking with Jim Bob for like the best possible plan to put us in the right spot. And I mean, all around, I've enjoyed his tenure here so far.
How do you feel like he empowers you guys as players? Like as a player who's being put in those positions, like how do you feel like he empowers you in them?
I mean, he gives while we say he's rigid in, his philosophy, his mentality, he really allows you to play football. Sometimes, a route may not go the way you want, or, the look's not 100% right, but I mean, he gives us the freedom at the end of the day to make plays and, be special, be who we are. So I think that's like his biggest thing is he gives us guidance without completely limiting us.
So like mentally you can kind of just play fast.
Absolutely.
Then with that.
Yep.
How do you feel like he's obviously an offensive coach, right? And he does a lot of stuff with you guys on offense, but have you just seen like the entire team kind of take on his mentality and kind of, come up to him?
I mean, we're huge on the preparation here. So I mean, you just see it. Like guys are seeing things faster. They're anticipating. They're flying around in practice. Our practices are very fast, very quick, but they're very intentful. So each and every rep, like even if there's like a few pointers, like we're moving fast. Our eyes, they're getting accustomed to what we're going to see in the game, and I think it shows on Sundays. Like when we come out flying, that our preparation has allowed us to do and perform the way we've been playing over the past few weeks.
Something I talked to you about a couple of weeks ago is like you're telling me that Gardner Minshew, like he almost has these like bespoke routes for you guys, where like the route that you're gonna run, if you run an over route, he's gonna talk to you differently about it than if that's like Mo running the same route. How much do you trust Gardner when it comes to those little details that show up then on Sundays?
100%, 100%, because we rep it all week, and then once you get to the game, I mean, it's just business as usual. I mean, even going up to game time, like if there's like a last-second tweak to a route, I mean, he'll come up and talk to you and be like, hey, you know what, just really think, bend it, or really think, keep it, more thin, and really he's just really, really good about being dialed in. So, like, if he's not 100% confident, he'll come talk to you. But, I mean, if you're all good, like, we're all good. Let's just play ball, baby.
What's your favorite Gardner Minshew story that maybe doesn't involve football since being his teammate?
Oh, my goodness. There's too many. I mean, he's just a all-around, like, character. I mean, like, anytime you see him around, like, he's always doing, like, something with someone or it's chatting, Very personable guy. I don't feel like, he doesn't ever really meet a stranger. So, I mean, I couldn't really narrow down one and tell you right now. That, and I'm thinking about practice.
Something you can share here.
Yeah.
Something that when I was kind of what you mentioned about he doesn't know a stranger, like something I was talking about, I think it was with Wes French, like in training camp, was that he's one of those guys who could sit down at like literally any table. He could go sit with the DBs, the specialists, the tight ends. It doesn't matter. How does that charisma help him out just as a leader, but also just kind of raise the level of play with the rest of the team?
I mean, he's just risen up everybody on the team. I don't know how
else
to say it. But I mean, when you're a leader like that who can find cohesion with all manner of units, I mean, I think it just makes you that more tied in with your locker room, and I think you just have that inherent trust just built in. Because I mean, if everybody can chat with you, and if you can talk to somebody, even if like you don't 100% like see eye to eye, and if you gain that respect for each other, both as a player and a person, I think that bond is just that much stronger.
What's the season been like for you, kind of taking on, more and more of a role within this offense, being in a playoff race, being in a position to go make plays and to win an in game? Just what's it been like for you?
I mean, every year here has been an exciting time. Last year, my rookie year, I mean, every circumstance was different, but this year has been a lot of fun. I think this is my most fun since I've been here. Like you said, taking on a little bit of a larger role. I'm kind of one of the older dudes in the tight end room now, besides Mo. Shut up, Mo. But it's been a lot of fun, getting to, work with Gardner, work with AR, work with Shane. I've just seen myself, become more comfortable both blocking, running routes, just all manners of the game, I'm finding myself settling in, and it's a good feeling.
You've been here for 3 years now. I've done 3 training camps. Who's the biggest pain in the butt you've gone against in training camp, and who's maybe by going against him in camp, who's elevated your play?
Oh, that's tough. If I had to say, I would say either Zaire or Julian, because Julian's a great cover guy, great safety. He'll come down and hit you. So running routes and stuff against him has been great for my game. Hopefully it's been good for his game. Iron sharpens iron. And then Zaire, just because he's so physical in the run game, he flows fast to the ball. He's always talking mess no matter what is going. It could be a walkthrough. He'll be over there chirping. But he always brings the juice to the field, and you're always gonna have a fast physical practice with him on the field, and it just makes everyone better on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, we hear iron sharpens iron a lot. When you get that experience of going against, Z is leading the NFL in tackles, Julian set career highs this year. You get that sense of hey, if I can go against these guys, then the guys I go against on Sunday, I know I can do that.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it is, because our guys are good too.
Right. Last thing before we get you out of here, Kylen, I wanted you to talk a little bit about KG's kids. I know you supported them with My Cause, My Cleats, but you've been doing that before you've been in the NFL. Just what about that initiative and getting kids to read and age appropriate materials and stuff like that just led you to be passionate about that?
So I'm a huge reader. I love reading. It started from an early age. It wasn't always smooth sailing. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, but my mom's a teacher, my dad's a coach, so I was never gonna escape, being in the classroom. And my mom, I was in the golden age of gaming, the Xbox 360, the PlayStation, the GameCube, all these great consoles were coming out, great games, and I would just play video games all day. And I was doing well in the classroom, but nowhere up to the level of expectation that she had for me. So she implicated this match system for me for reading, where for every minute I read, I got a minute of video games. And 30 minutes here, an hour there, it added up. But I found my book, and it was Rick Riordan's The Lightning Thief. And from there on, it was boom. I was reading everywhere. I completely flipped from playing video games all the time to reading books all the time. I got banned from bringing books to middle school,
because you were reading too much.
Because I was reading too much, and I'd have A's in class, and they would line my books up on the whiteboard shelf. They would line them up just on in cop shows, number 1, step forward. It's my lineup, and I was dang, on my books. And my mom was really upset because I've never heard of teachers punishing students for reading if they're just excelling in class. But I attribute a lot of my academic and football success to reading comprehension, and my love of reading has allowed me to pursue various academic goals. I got into Rice, I got into Harvard, and I went to school at SMU. A lot of great schools, and it's just opened so many doors for me. And the hope is to get books in these kids' hands at an early age, so hopefully it can do the same thing for them and whatever their aspirations are that it did for me. And so we started out as just me, my mom, my dad. We actually just officially partnered with Warren Township up here.
That's great, yeah.
So we got a full-time spot over there, so we're more than excited to be working over there. We've already got events lined up, and oh my goodness, my parents are so excited. I get to just have fun. We did a night of reading. I read The Lightning Thief. I honestly have more fun than the kids. I got I was 10 pages in. They're all right, we got to cut you off. It's been a half hour, and I was no, stay. It's I'm almost done, But it's been a lot of fun. We've been able to do a lot of cool things here in the community, giving out backpacks, having our KG's Carnival of Books, where we give out I think it's 3 books to every kid during the day, and then at night we have a carnival. It's kind of like a field day. You get to play around. We invite the community to come out. My family and I are always working there. And interacting with the kids, and it's always a really, really great time. So yeah, that's a little bit about us. We enjoy doing what we do. Honestly, it's what makes being a football player so fun, because those kids, I mean, they probably don't know who I am, but I'm wearing a jersey and I look tall, so they're like, oh, that guy's pretty cool.
But you probably have a bunch of favorite players then, like or those kids, you're their favorite player.
Yeah,
like,
very.
Because they met you and they see you're a real person now.
Yeah, it's a very niche favorite player, but I appreciate them all the same. It's like Kylen Granson. Wow.
Yeah.
He's the greatest. I'm like, yes.
That's
not
great.
A fan. Check.
All right. Well, Kylen Granson, we think you're the greatest here. Thanks for joining us here on the official Colts podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Sweet kid. Love Kylen Granson.
He's hilarious.
He really is. He's funny, and you see him on social media. But hold on, JJ, and then you can go. He has snakes all over his house. He has reptiles.
Well, they're
he
in
has.
cages. They're in
Well, I
like
know,
a
but
tank.
still,
Like,
that's
they're
one
not
thing.
just
When
roaming free.
I found myself when he told me that I was stepping back. That maybe that he was like going to take something out of his pocket or something like that. But anyway, great guy, loves insects too. I found out as well.
So yeah, if you were watching the video board before the game on Sunday. If you notice the fib or fact bit that we do, Zach Baker and Brian Mitchell put together on the video board, his fact was he studies myrmecology, which is the study of ants. He's fascinated by ants.
Study of ants.
Of ants.
He is so funny. So also, hold on, really quickly, shout out to Kylen Granson and also Sherry, who's behind the camera right now, because last week's Colts Cam asked everybody their favorite moment of 2023 or best thing that happened to you in 2023. And Kylen mentioned, welcomed my bundle of joy. And Sherry did a little throwback to when Kylen did his newborn photo shoot with his first touchdown ball. So funny. Like
top 5 thing I think I've ever seen a player do on social media.
Yeah, that was great.
Was that photo shoot.
That was great.
You know what? It was so deserved. Not just because it was his first career touchdown, but also because he got so robbed. Did not get to celebrate it in Houston because it was reviewed. It wasn't initially called a touchdown. They had to go through the roof. So I'm like so happy for him that we get this photo shoot will live in infamy because Kylen deserves to have that.
Hey, sure. I need one thing from each of you before we get out of here. One way that we're going to beat Jacksonville. No, Titans over Jacksonville. One way we're going to beat the Texans. I mean, there's 100, but one way at a home game with this environment is
you got to get C.J. Stroud to the ground. The Colts sacked him 6 times in week 2. That was before we knew just how freaking good C.J. Stroud is. You got to get him to the ground because I know they don't have Tank Dell right now. Their weapons are a little bit depleted, but C.J. Stroud, if you let him sit back there, he will pick you apart. Yeah. And it's not going to be one of those things where you let him pick you apart between the 20s and then you stop him in the red zone. He'll probably get you in the red zone. You got to get him to the ground.
That's defensively. Give me something offensively.
Establish the run game, avoid 3rd and longs.
There it is.
Just be able to play complementary with the run game, set up the run game so then you can get those explosive plays in the passing game as well. But I think this is all going to be set up behind a really productive run game, and I feel good about it this week. But also, you gotta avoid those 3rd and long situations. Difficult position to be in. You risk putting yourself into some turnover type of opportunities with that. So that's where I'm going.
Absolutely, and it's going to be happening. That barn is going to be jumping on Saturday night, 8:15. I mean, there's a lot going on in the city of Indianapolis, so get down there early. Touchdown Town is going to be running a couple of hours before the game. Live music and freezing, our limbs off, but everybody will be there with the pregame.
But then you go inside to a warm building.
That's true. Hey, you stay in that warm building. I stay out in the cold for 2 hours, then I go into the thing. Hey,
that's the real reason why I started doing the PAs, so I could not do the pregame
so you didn't have to come outside. Right. What do we got on the Colts Audio Network this week? Give me it.
We got Inside Football with Rick Venturi. That'll be out on Wednesday. Colts Roundtable Live with Shane Steichen, also out today on Tuesday. That'll be taking one last look back at the Raiders game, looking ahead to the Texans game with Shane. Matt Taylor hosting that with Rick Venturi and Joe Wrights. Thursday, the official Colts podcast is back right here on YouTube as well. Casey Valier sat down with Mark Vandermeer.
He's great.
Mark Vandermeer, the voice of the Texans.
Love
He's
him.
been there
He's great.
forever.
Yeah.
To get a little preview for Colts and Texans. And then Sunday morning, probably Bill Brooks and I will knock out instant reaction. I mean, it'll have to be Sunday morning, either in the wee hours or in the early morning. But keep your eye out, because if the Colts win this division and we get some playoff stuff going on, might slip a little late podcast in there on Sunday.
Okay.
We'll see.
Whatever it
We'll
takes.
See. Sunday night, maybe with there are some reasons to do it.
I know you're going to be fired up for that one, so get down there early. And let's take a sidebar. I always love this. Thank you, Sherry, behind the camera. Thanks for Casey Valier's work and everything else. But let's not forget, guys, when it comes down to it, this woman to my right has not missed a day of running at least 1 mile. And I want to get the tally of where we're at right now, because I was just thinking, is Larra going to be up at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, or is she going to sleep in until 10:30, 11 o'clock?
I need to know the answer to this.
Or is she saying, I'm sleeping in for purpose because I know I'm going to be late? That's what I'm thinking of. So anyway, where are we at with the tally, and what time are you getting up on Saturday morning?
That's a great question. I appreciate you, Chase. Let's see. We got 1,523 days, I want to say. So every day since November of 2019.
Consecutive days of running at least
1
mile.
Yes.
We got to get that. There's not many people in the world that can say that. There are some.
There's a woman in Fort Wayne who has done more than 20 years.
Of just running.
Yeah.
Just not missing.
Right.
Every
and so
day.
I follow her. She's like my inspiration.
Wow,
but
it's wonderful.
But yeah, on Saturday, what I will probably do is maybe sleep in a little.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
Sleep in a little bit and then go. Because my usual routine is I'll normally go out about 7, like on a normal 1 o'clock kickoff on a Sunday, I'm running at about 7.
Yeah.
So I probably want to keep that same time schedule too,
Yeah.
because the run gives you good momentum for the rest of the day too. So I don't want to run too early, and then I've kind of lost my endorphin high.
Right. I
Right?
get you.
So, I don't know.
Hey,
It's like,
over
maybe run and then grab a little lunch and then start getting ready.
Over 1,500 consecutive days of running at least 1 mile. And I ask you and me too, what have you done lately? What have you know what I mean? I mean, that's quite a record, and we're going to keep this going. Hopefully 2 years from now, if we're all still here, we can add on to it. Anyway, I'm babbling right now. 8:15 kickoff down at Lucas Oil Stadium. We can't wait. These two are going to be down there, obviously, entertaining us all night, and it's up to the fans. If you're going to that barn, you better be loud, because this is not a playoff environment. This is the playoffs. That's what we're at right now. At JJ Stankevitz on Twitter X, at Larra Overton at Twitter X. We will see you next week. Let's go. We've got playoff football. That is coming, and we will talk to you next week about who our opponent's going to be. It looks like Cleveland. Yeah, I said it. Let's go win one on Saturday night. Don't make me look stupid. See you later. I know that's tough.